Ya, Prof. Ya, Dok. Apa
Mungkin
kabar
kapan
nih,
ya?
Dokter
Salam
Rifani?
Apa
Apa
Alhamdulillah
kabar?
baik-baik di sini
Ya,
ya. Tante Yani kemana sana? Di
ya,
Jogja.
alhamdulillah sehat. Meskipun
Oh,
suasana di sini masih ya sedikit mengkhawatirkan, Dokter Rifani.
oh ya kan?
Tentang COVID
Di Jogja.
masih belum hilang.
Sama Malaysia juga
Ya,
sama gitu.
ya. So how about in Malaysia, Dokter Chris?
Malaysia apa namanya angkanya sudah menurun, tetapi tetap masih apa ya masih dalam suasana berwaspada gitu.
Ya.
So belum lagi bisa belum lagi boleh pulang kampung pulkam atau mudik, itu beda ya, mudik sama pulkam ya.
Iya. Sama di sini juga tidak boleh pulang
Nggak
kampung.
boleh. Apa nih lintas provinsi itu nggak boleh itu. Jadi saya sudah lebih 1 tahun, hampir 2 tahun nggak ketemu ibu saya tuh yang saya sempat hilang itu.
Iya. Karena ini ya
2 tahun.
di negara bagian yang lain.
Tahun lebih lah.
Iya. Bahkan ke negeri 9 pun tidak diizinkan ya, Dok ya.
Nah, enggak. Belum boleh.
Iya.
Jadi kalau di sini bahasanya saman, denda, dendanya sudah dinaikkan.
Oh iya.
Luar biasa, dulu 1.000 ringgit Malaysia kan, sekitar 3,5 juta gitu. Sekarang sudah naik berapa? 10 kali lipat, 10.000 ringgit.
Ya, supaya
35 juta ya. 35, 40 juta gitulah.
Same with the students from Indonesia that studying in Malaysia cannot go back to Malaysia. Some of my friends that studying from USM couldn't go back to USM. Ya. Dan dendanya sangat mahal ya, Dok ya. Dendanya 30 juta katanya, 7.000 ringgit kalau nggak salah. Ya. Baik.
Kalau mau pulang ke sini, pulang ke universitas. Oke.
Ini sudah ada 50 lebih dokter partisipan hari ini. Baik, kita mulai ya. Shall we start now?
Ya. We shall.
Ya, oke. Mbak Sri, can you hear my voice? Oke.
Yes, I can hear you, man.
Oke. Ya, oke. Oke, good morning everyone, all the participants, all the students. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yeah, welcome to guest lecture sessions. Yeah, in this morning that proudly presented by IPCOS Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. Actually, IPCOS is our new program, international program of communication studies, UMY, which is launched this year. Yeah, so this is the newbie in UMY, yeah, because now we are still doing our first semester. Yeah, okay, my name is Yeni Rosilawati. I'm the secretary of IPCOS UMY, and I will be serving as your moderator today. Today, all of you be hearing a presentation from Dr. Rifani Bustami, yeah, from University of Saints of Malaysia, or USM, on this very timely subject. But before we get started, I want to read a short biography from Dr. Rifani first, before we start. Dr. Muhammad Rifani Bustami completed his PhD from the London School of Economics and Political Science, or LSE, in the field of organizational sociology and globalization. He is the faculty member and researcher at the Center of Policy Research and International Studies, or CENPRIS, Ultas Saints of Malaysia in Penang. Yeah. And he also the founding advisor for both Malaysia and Indonesia, or Malindo Nusantara Research Center for Migration, Muslim Communities and Peace Studies. And also his area of expertise and research interests are CSR, and also ethnicity, and also future organizational transformations. Dr. Rifani also lead numerous projects ranging from interreligious, multicultural, heritage, and also ethnic integrations, migration, and future studies to CSR. And also he conducted research strategies and cross-border research, and also joined and become as speakers in many conferences and also international seminars. He is also editor-in-chief for the International Journal for Multicultural and Multireligious Understanding, that based in Germany. And Dr. Rifani also carried out research project for the United Nations Development Program, or UNDP, Swedish International Development Agency, or SIDA, and also many more research that he already conducted. So, ya, Dr. Rifani pengalamannya sudah banyak sekali ya, teman-teman, di penelitian khususnya tentang CSR, kemudian multicultural, ya, ethnic integration, ya. Jadi teman-teman jika ingin berkonsultasi atau ingin belajar lebih banyak, nanti bisa bertanya-tanya lebih banyak lagi dengan Dr. Rifani. Okay, now moving along to our session, please welcome Dr. Rifani Bustami, yeah, who will speaking to us on CSR in Islam, specifically on 7 principles of transformations. Okay, for Dr. Rifani, time will be yours.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullah. Good morning. Happy, meaningful, momentous Monday morning. It so happens that today is also Nisbu Sya'ban, so salam Nisbu Sya'ban. This is where all our deeds, the good ones and the bad ones, are being submitted to higher above to be evaluated, right? I'm so happy, so senang, so happy, so honored to be with you today, with UMY today. Thank you very much to Ibu Dr. Yeni. Also, congratulations as the appointment as a director, something very important. And if I remember correctly, Dr. Yeni's work on CSR is something that is very significant. It's a groundbreaking work that looks at indigenous knowledge, local wisdom, and the connection with CSR. And my own field in CSR and my own research site of Nusantara makes it very relevant for me to connect and work, collaborate with Dr. Yeni, Ibu Yeni, and I'm very happy to be with UMY. Unfortunately, I also kangen, rindu, miss to be in Yogyakarta. One of the one of the heritage cities I consider in Nusantara, and I always quote Yogyakarta as being exemplary city, a model city of Nusantara, right? If there's a city in Nusantara and in a wider or more historical conception of Nusantara, that is space or range or of geography that extends from southern Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Brunei, Philippines, right? If there's one city that symbolizes, that epitomizes Nusantara, that would be Yogyakarta, because Yogyakarta is a city that is rich in tradition, rich in culture, rich with human interaction, and yet doesn't look very much like a Western city. No, you do not have multiple malls like, you do not look like Kuala Lumpur, you don't look like Jakarta, you don't look like Singapore. You look like a good Nusantara city. And I think that is something very commendable, that is something very noteworthy, something to be proud of. Right? So in many ways, I miss being in Indonesia. I miss being in Yogyakarta. Okay, I will start the lecture today. I understand that I can use both. I should be using English, but I requested that I use both English and bahasa Nusantara, bahasa Indonesia yang saya baru belajar. I learn bahasa Malaysia, tetapi dikit-dikit, sitik-sitik itu bisalah bahasa Indonesia. So I will be using the rojak approach, rojak campur-campur, bahasa campur-campur itu ya. The salad approach of using both English and bahasa Indonesia, bahasa Malaysia, bahasa Nusantara gitu ya. This is a talk, a discussion on CSR Islam, and I have 4 contextual the 7 pillars, 7 principles of organizational transformation. The first context, we can move to the next slide. Right. The first context is the context of the evolution of societies. If you look at the literature on futures and on evolution of societies, right, one of the most referred to piece of work is from Erwin Toffler, who talks about the first wave, second wave, and the third wave. The third wave is where we see the informational wave. The second wave is the very much agricultural wave, right? The industrial wave, and then the first wave is the agricultural wave. But so each wave is the resource, the power is different. The first wave is very much about lands, because those who control the land controls agriculture. Second wave is about resources, is about industrialization. So those who control raw materials, those who control the logistics, those who control the pathways of delivering goods, control the world. And the third one is the informational wave, where those who control information, those who control the technology of information controls the world. And this is where we are about right now. But at the same time, we see the fourth wave coming in. What is the fourth wave, right? If you can go to I'm going to go to the next slide. The fourth wave talks about a different force that will enter the society. Jadi kalau pertamanya, siapa yang menguasai lahan-lahan, yang menguasai tanah-tanah itu, menguasai agriculture, kan, menguasai pertanian, perkebunan. Pertama, siapa yang menguasai factors of production, ya, industrialization, they control the world. Kalau ketiga, those who control, siapa menguasai informasi, menguasai dunia. Tetapi datangnya the fourth wave arrives with a different kind of emphasis, right? I use a quote of Albert Einstein. Right? Albert Einstein talks about progress and religion. He says, religion without science is lame, but science without religion is blind. Religion, agama tanpa sains itu pincang bahasa Indonesianya ya. Tetapi sains tanpa agama itu buta. Ya, itu Albert Einstein. Dan kebetulan hari ini bersama saya ini ada teman-teman mahasiswa yang lain-lainnya. So ada bersama saya ini Mas Muzakir, kalau saya minta sedikit yang membantu saya ini Mas Muzakir yang saya akan perkenalkan ini. Jadi Mas Muzakir bersama saya dan beberapa lagi orang yang menulis buku tentang CSR Islam. Ini kupasannya. He is the co-author of the CSR Islam, Islamic CSR. So he's present. He's also one of the members of the leadership of Muhammadiyah, right? But he's a lecturer in UNESA Surabaya. So he's participating together with me. I'm was blessed that I have the support and company team of students who are with me to make things happen together with me. Yeah? And along with him, and have another technologist. He's the GoPro expert, right? He's a GoPro expert. His name is Shahrial Amari. I will tell more about him later. Right? He's only 12 years old this year, but he's coming here to support me. He's a GoPro, GoPro expert there. Okay? And then we have another one who is actually the one that's helping me all along. There's Raja is from UMM, Universitas Muhammadiyah Malang, another universitas berakreditasi A, he was accredited A, right? So he's here to help me. So I'm with a team of people with me today, Nisbu Shaban ini. So I'm blessed, I'm happy. Yeah? By the way, Shahrial there, also my son. Right? If we can go to the next, go back to the slide on the fourth wave. So the fourth wave talks about how religion will come back to lead science. What happens is science becomes ubiquitous. People have technology. People have access to technology. So ethics will come back. The religion will come back to lead science. So now the fourth wave is where ethics will come back, and those who control ethics, those who control institutions of right and wrong, those who control the institution of certification, those who control the institution of integrity, of goodness will control the world. So if the institution controls the certification of economic success, they control, your country is graded as AAA, and then people will come in and put investment in your country. But if your country is graded as B or C, people will pull out, right? So people trust the institution that gives certification. If your university is ranked top, right, in the QS or Times, or and people say, wow, that's good, man. And we'll see ministers of education all become believers in this new religion, right? They said what is good, what is bad. They'll tell you your country is bad if your country is considered as not democratic, right? Transparency International have their own way of categorizing what's good, what's bad. And we, the people, we, the government, we, the world, believe in this kind of ranking, rating, assessment, right? So this is how powerful the fourth wave is. All they need to tell you is that do not believe this institution, do not believe this country, do not believe in this economy, and the economy will be affected, then or the university will be affected, or the country will be affected. So we see as a religion or ethics or morality or the power to certify is coming to the world of humans and is leading how institutions are operating, how institutions are transforming themselves, right? So this is where religion, ethics, are coming into science, religion and ethics are coming into society and shaping society. So this is the fourth way. This is the context that I'll be discussing Islamic CSR. Right? So we'll move to the next slide. We'll move to the next slide. Okay. So next slide, the context is Nusantara. Nusantara, as I said just now, is a space. It's a cultural space. It's a spiritual space. It's a geographical space. It's a political, economic space. It's a heritage space. There was once one, right? But then the colonizers came in, penjajah datang, perampok datang memecahkan. You know, they came and they colonized us and broke us apart and separated us, and we forgot that we were once one, right? But what I want to posit, what I want to put forth is that since we share a common history, a common heritage, that it is important to come up with our own mold of progress, our own mold of leadership. Hence, the idea of Islamic CSR is a form of CSR that is grounded on our own heritage, is based, is rooted on our own Nusantara concept of progress, right? So in the next context, is the context of Islam. The next context of Islam, is where this whole discourse of Islamic CSR becomes crucial and vital and important. I approach this conception, this discourse of CSR, not so much an Islamic scholar, because I'm not qualified as an Islamic scholar, right? I did not attend school, university to learn Islamic studies, but I approach it as a Muslim scholar. So I feel that it is my responsibility to understand the world, to talk about the world, not just from a conventional perspective, but also as a Muslim perspective, an Islamic perspective, right? And the argument is this, that Islam is not just a religion. Islam is a system of living, it's a deen, right? A deen, a system of living. It also carries with it a system of knowledge. Islam has so much beauty and richness and wealth in it, right? Kekayaan Islam itu luar biasa. Ilmu dalam Islam itu luar biasa. Makanya kita mau menyebar, berbagi ilmu, kekayaan, rahmat lil alamin itu. We want to spread the goodness of Islam. So we propagate, we talk, we write about this CSR Islam, Islamic CSR, from that point of view, to share the beauty, the knowledge, the rahmat of Islam with not just Muslims, but also with non-Muslims, right? So when we talk about Islam in Nusantara, I do not want to talk about this discourse of Islam Nusantara. This is not about Islam Nusantara. This is about Islam in Nusantara. It is the final frontier. Ini adalah kubu terakhir. It is the fort that's holding the Muslim, the Islamic castle, right? Why we look at the Middle East, we look at even South Asia, Muslims, Islam has been attacked. Muslim have broken up, right? And we are the final frontier. We, the Nusantara, is the place that belum kucak-kacir lagi, belum porak-peranda lagi, belum diganggu gugat sehingga Islam itu sudah runtuh, kita berperang sesama kita. We are still strong and stable. So we must be the one that is guarding Islam in a form that will bring goodness to other people, goodness to not just Muslim, but to non-Muslim, to the environment, to the world. So it's just a form of rainforest of moderation, rainforest of diversity and progress. It's not a desert of extremism. That is the context of Islam that I would like to share, right? And the next slide. So this Islamic CSR that we'll be discussing They are not mutually exclusive, meaning there'll be overlapping between all the 7 pillars, 7 principles, right? Ada tumpang tindihnya, yeah. They are not exhaustive. Certainly, there are more principles besides the 7 principles presented. And very important point that I'm noting is that success shown in the manifestation of Islamic CSR is not shown only by Muslims, but also by non-Muslims. So the argument is that even a non-Muslim practicing Islam, the principle of Islamic CSR will gain the benefit, will gain the rahmat from Islamic CSR. Right? And I will show you a few examples. Right? We go to the next slide. So this is the book CSR Islam, 7 Prinsip Transformasi Organisasi untuk Kemajuan Bisnes dan Masyarakat. We co-authored it together with Mas Muzakir here, and also with Associate Professor Dr. Alisha Nasruddin from the Graduate School of Business, who has done a lot of work on CSR as well as future studies. So we built a kind of corpus of knowledge that is related to CSR, related to Islamic interpretation of Islam, Islamic interpretation of CSR, and put it together in one book. So this is so what we see is that we want to share that Islam has this wealth of knowledge on CSR as well that has begun even during the Prophet Muhammad SAW's time, and then it has continued on until today. We go to the next slide. These are the 7 principles. Ini 7 prinsip transformasi organisasi Islam. The 7, I will go through very briefly all the 7, and I will zoom and discuss more on specific ones because I do think that there are things that I should highlight more, especially with you all in the Department of Faculty of Communications, International Communications, right? So I will elaborate even more. These are the 7 principles. The first and the most important is the number 1, which is ethical intention. Niat yang beretika. Ethical intention. All actions begin with niat. So that is the first and foremost, the raison d'etre, the reason of being for an organization, for a company, right? I'll go more deeply on this one. I'll discuss more deeply on this one. Second, penawangan khalifah, the khalifah stewardship. We all know that we are sent to this earth not just as hamba, not just as servant, but as well as Khalifatullah, as one who the vicegerent, the one who is here to take care of the earth, the world, the universe, right? So that's the second one. The third one is the principle of truthfulness and trustworthiness, kejujuran dan amanah, right? This is probably one of the most important traits in Islamic CSR, in fact, in Islamic organization and in Islamic trading, Islamic business. For without trustworthiness, without truthfulness, everything else collapses, right? So number 4 is halalan thayyiban. Halalan thayyiban is a concept, is a principle that is from the Quran, and Quran asserts the idea of halal, not just halal, but halalan thayyiban, not just permissible, right, but also wholesomeness, right? Makanlah bukan sahaja yang halal, tetapi makanlah yang baik-baik juga, ya. So it's never the word halal is separated from the word tayyib, right? So this is where we will introduce halalan thayyiban as a unified, unison concept that is in unison, one unified concept in CSR Islam. Number 5, the principle of fairness, principle of keadilan, prinsip keadilan, and then one of the most contested crisis in today's world is the crisis of fairness, and we will talk about this in more detail. Number 6, which is highly relevant to international communication, highly relevant to communication, and that is authenticity and credibility. Autentisitas dan juga kredibilitas. And I will talk about how this is related to communication, especially in corporate communication. Right? This is very important. Number 7, last, certainly not least, is the principle of giving, the principle of reciprocity. And in Islam, we have many forms of giving, from zakat to infaq to sedekah. So this is institutionalized in Islam as well. So these are the 7 principles of Islamic CSR, and I will go in more deeply and deliberate on each principle in much more detail, right? Okay. First, the principle of ethical intention, prinsip niat yang beretika. Sesungguhnya setiap perbuatan tergantung pada niatnya, dan sesungguhnya setiap orang akan memperoleh berdasar apa yang diniatkan. Itu hadis Rasulullah SAW. So all actions begin with intention. It is important principle of CSR Islam in many different ways, right? Number 1, CSR in the next slide. We move to the next slide. CSR is generally externally focused. So when people think of CSR, people think of, go out helping the poor, go out helping the orphanage, perhaps the environment. Seldom is CSR associated with internal focus. Jarang sekali kita bicarakan tentang CSR itu dari perspektif dalaman, dari perspektif dalam, dari perspektif inside, ya. The inner compass yang ada di dalam kita itu. It's often the idea of reaching in versus reaching out, ya. Jadi CSR itu paling penting tuh reach in first before you reach out, right? Masuk ke dalam diri kita dahulu, masuk dalam hati kita dahulu, masuk dalam jiwa kita dulu sebelum kita hulurkan tangan keluar. We need to reach out inside to look for that purpose, to look for that raison d'être, raison d'être, the reason for being for the organization. So in CSR discourse, oftentimes people talk about shareholders, right? Even worse, most companies will focus more on shareholders, right? Pemegang saham, right? But CSR talks about shareholders. So not just pemegang saham, not just people who is having shares, but also the shareholders outside of the company. So we have the the shareholders are also the employees. Shareholders is also communities. Tetapi dalam Islam, but in Islam, the most important shareholder, the most important partner is the Almighty, is Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. This is the essence of Islamic CSR. Inilah inti CSR Islam. That our number 1 partner is Allah Subhanahu wa Taala. That our number 1 partner is God. That the most important the most important partner that we must satisfy is God. Even though it's not popular to the stakeholders, to the shareholders, we must follow the principles of God. We must satisfy God as our number 1 partner. So we must have that purpose. We must have that niat, that this whole CSR, this whole company, this whole organization is set up to serve God, right? The next slide, right? Let me elaborate further. And this has to do with ethical rationality, ethical repurposing, right? And that is to ask the question, kenapa kita why are we setting up this business? Why are we running this business? Now, the first principle says you must have the right reason. To do the right thing for the right reason. What is the purpose of my organization? Now, if we have not defined that yet, we must redefine it. We must find that purpose. We must find that reason, that ethical reason. Why am I doing what I'm doing through my business? That is the first principle. So, in Islam, if we do not connect with that intention, that ethical intention, everything else. Tetapi apabila kita niat yang baik, maka perusahaan kita, operasi kita, usaha kita, itu semua menjadi ibadah. Everything becomes a worship to God, right? Now, let me connect you to something that is more literature-based, right? More Western literature-based. Let me go to the next slide. This is Harvard Business Review. So anyone who studies CSR must study this great theorist, this great scholar. His name is Michael Porter. He is the world most cited scholar, right? The world most cited scholar is Michael Porter. He has most citation index, whatever you call it, right? H index, H index is #1, right? Now, what does he say? He wrote an article and then published further works together with another person by the name of Kramer, what is called shared value. Now, Michael Porter is a famous management guru, right? In fact, he's a Harvard professor, meaning he can go in any departments and become a professor in the department. Now, he talks about developing comparative advantage using CSR, using shared value, meaning you can differentiate the business, you can differentiate your organization by creating CSR as your distinguishing, as your differentiating trait. So people think of your organization, people think of something good that you do. People think of your business, people associate with something that is important and some value that you're creating to the society. So when you do that, your business becomes much more meaningful, not just to the stockholders, but also to the stakeholders, to the community, to the shareholders. Right? And this is the shared value that is propagated by Michael Porter. And this has to do with the principle #1. If I do not talk about anything else, if you do not understand anything else, if you get anything from this lecture today, is this. And that's principle #1, the ethical intention, the reason of being for your organization. Justru itu, kalaulah belum kita ada satu misi, belum ada satu visi yang beretika, niat yang beretika yang ditanam, dipupuk, disemai di dalam organisasi kita, maka haruslah kita transformasikan organisasi kita menggunakan prinsip yang pertama ini. Right. So, what is your ethical leadership? What is your strategic ethical purpose? What is it? Harus kita memikirkan bagaimana kita mentransformasi organisasi bisnes kita menggunakan strategic ethical purpose. Apa yang unik, special, penting, yang beretika yang kita mau memberi, berbagi dengan masyarakat, dengan komunitas. So this is the essence of the first principle. Let me go to the next one, and you see more. Right? Let's go to even the next one. Right? Now, each industry has its sins. setiap industri, setiap bidang dalam bisnes itu seringnya ada dosa-dosanya. If you look at the cosmetic industry, right? Cosmetic industry, apa dosa dalam cosmetic industry? Is that of using animal testing. They test cosmetic products, right, on animals. Right? So before you put the mascara itu, they test on rabbits, on monkeys, ya, atas kelinci rabbits, ya, ataupun kera-kera itu. Kalau contohnya lah, kalau 5 monkeys become blind, 5 monkeys do not get blind, then they do not pass it yet. Until they test the product, maybe only 1 monkey get blind out of 10, 20, 30 monkeys says, oh, okay, this mascara can be marketed, right? So monkeys become blind, rabbits being harmed, abused. So there's a sin in the cosmetic industry until somebody emerged. She said, "Can I create an ethical purpose and make my company special based on this ethical purpose?" Right now, well, she built a company that is free of animal testing, or free of chemical products, and there's another sin of the cosmetic industry, using chemical products that is harmful to the customers, right? So she developed a product line, a company, a franchise called what? Called the Body Shop. So Body Shop is a company that is based on ethical purpose, based on strategic ethical purpose, which is principle number 1, right? Ethical purpose. So remember, Michael Porter said what? He said, re-strategize, rethink, repurpose your organization based on certain things that are shared value. So this is the shared value that is done by Anita Roddick. Her name is Anita Roddick, who builds a Body Shop. Now what happens? When Anita Roddick introduces product lines that are animal-free testing, so animal testing-free products, chemistry products, it changes the industry. So the Alma, the clinic, I don't know all this, I don't use cosmetic product, the Avon, all other industries in the cosmetic world have to adopt this leadership, have to become believers. They're shamed into believing, adopting this leadership. They feel bad about animal testing, right? So they look bad on their public relations. They look back on their reputation, right? They are doing animal testing. They are using chemical product. So they follow the leadership, the ethical leadership of Anita Roddick. They follow the ethical leadership of Body Shop, right? So we see that ethical intention, prinsip yang pertama, berniat beretika. Jadi niat itu bukan di hati saja, itu ditranslate the niat, translate the essence of the intention into the mission of the organization, into the operations of the organization, into the products of the organization. Right? So this is where we take rahmat in Islam and translate it, operationalize it, just like Kiai Haji Ahmad Dahlan translate Al-Ma'un, the Surah Al-Ma'un, and you see Muhammadiyah has become so powerful in spreading goodness, wholesomeness, education, health to the whole of Indonesia. Now, is the power of the first principle, ethical principle, right? The ethical intention, the ethical repurposing, right? And then we see it, a good example in Indonesia, sebelum adanya Grab dan Go-Car, ya, ialah apa namanya, Bluebird, right? Taksi Bluebird itu, karena terkenal tuh. Kalau dahulu, ya mohon maaf ya, kalau di Indonesia itu sering kalau naik taksi, ya, kalau sebelum ini sering kalau naik taksi itu dikerjain lah gitu. Apalagi turis-turis dari luar ini, ya, dikerjain. Ya kan? Tetapi
Dikerjain.
bukan Jakarta saja, di Indonesia ini banyak negara itu juga gitu kan. Masuklah Kuala Lumpur saya pikir ya sangat itu ya. Tetapi Bluebird saw that as a problem, a sin, dosa dalam industri taksi. Maka Bluebird itu membangunkan satu industri, satu brand yang baru, satu merek yang baru, ialah Bluebird. If you want to find a trustworthy company that you can trust, they do not exploit you, you go to Bluebird. Sehingga kalau sebelum ada Grab dan Go-Car dan sebagainya, if I go to Indonesia, I'll Grab Bluebird, ya kan? Jadi Bluebird becomes the symbol of integrity, the symbol of honesty. Itu sangat powerful, itu mengubah landscape of industry. So, and this is why I say, if I stop my lecture right now, you get this part of it, you get the whole essence of CSR Islam, and that is to use the strength, the beauty, the rahmat in Islam, and spread it to the world. Right. So that is the first principle. Right. So what you want to do is to ask the question, what's wrong with my industry? Apakah salah industri saya dan bagaimana saya bisa membangunkan satu merek, satu produk, satu brand that is socially responsible, CSR, corporate social responsibility, right? How do I apply CSR leadership to rectify the mistakes and the weaknesses of my industry? Bagaimanakah saya memakai CSR, kepemimpinan CSR itu untuk rectify, untuk membenahi, ya, untuk membetulkan masalah dan kesalahan yang sebelum ini. Then you will have a strategic ethical purpose that Michael Porter was talking about. Michael Porter, by the way, is the guru of strategic management, right? If you look at strategic management, you haven't studied Michael Porter, you haven't studied strategic management yet. Right? So this is the first principle. In fact, I can stop right now. Tapi ada prinsip-prinsip yang lainnya. I'll move to the next one. Prinsip yang kedua ialah prinsip penaungan khalifah. The principle of khalifah stewardship. Right. Now, the first principle is about niat. It's about intention. It's about establishing that mission, right? The second principle is to say that, look, God has given you the trust. Allah sudah memberi mandat dan manusia sudah menerima mandat dan amanah ini untuk menjadi khalifatullah, untuk menjadi pemimpin kepada dunia ini. I use the picture sebelum ini lagi. The picture I give you bukan lingkungan saja, bukan masyarakat komunitas saja, bukan dunia bumi saja, tetapi universe itu, galaksi, cakrawala gitu. Jadi kita ini bertanggung jawab untuk menjaga alam semesta ya. Karena sekarang ini, you know, if you go to the outside of Earth, you go to the outer space, you know what you one of the things you see? You see germs. You see sampah sara. Karena we have ship satellite di luar angkasa, and then the satellite, when they explode, they start floating in the outer space. So bukan saja kita ni merosak bumi Allah, kita juga merosak alam di sana itu. What kind of manusia are we, right? Makhluk yang memperosak ini kan. Virus yang lebih jahat daripada virus COVID ini kan. So intinya maksudnya, we must understand that we are spiritual being. And this is the physical world is actually entrusted to us as God's spiritual being to take care of the world, to take care of the universe. Let me go to the next slide now. Not slide down there. No, there are 4 aspects, if I can, to talk about the responsibilities of the Khalifah. Number 1 is the community. Masyarakat, lingkungan sosial kita ya, komunitas di sekeliling kita. Enggak boleh kalau kita bangunkan sesebuah perusahaan tetapi kita mengabaikan komunitas, tidak kita prihatin, tidak kita peduli komunitas di keliling kita ya. Kita menjadi kaya, we become rich, and outside of our organization, outside of our business, outside our company, outside our headquarters itu orang mengemis-ngemis di luar-luar di sana. That is wrong. Kita membangunkan perusahaan tu, we are part of the corporate citizen, right? Kita sebahagian para warga dalam yang locality kita itu, masyarakat. Jadi kita mempunyai tanggungjawab untuk menjaga, memelihara, memberi, membantu, membalas budi masyarakat komunitas keliling kita itu. That's number one. Number two is the environmental responsibility. Environmental responsibility ini yang mungkin orang-orang kita ini di Nusantara ini sering mengabai ya, sering tidak peduli itu. So kita lihat itu sungai-sungai kita itu, ya Allahu Akbar, itu tidak melambangkan our responsibility ya, our responsibility to the environment, to the waters, to the rivers, to the air ya. Sebagai khalifah, we have not done with that well. Termasuklah kalau kita lihat kita ni sebagai responsible khalifah ya, masjid-masjid kita, lingkungan di keliling masjid kita itu bagaimana itu ya. So if we talk about khalifah, the khalifah of our environment. The third one is workplace responsibility, iaitu menjaga kebajikan, kepedulian kepada komunitas di tempat kerja kita, karyawan-karyawan kita. We must ask ourselves, adakah kalau ada ibu yang menyusu, right? Adakah ruang? Do we have space untuk employees do we have space for employees to breastfeed? That is private. Do they need to go to the bathroom, to the toilet to breastfeed the babies? Do we have musalla? Do we have a clean toilet? Do we take care of our employees, right? Right? That is the third part, right? The employees taking care. So we talk about CSR. Oftentimes we forget about taking care of our own people inside of the organization. We talk about reaching out. We don't do enough reaching in, right? And including reaching in into our own people, right? And then the next one is product responsibility. Now, this is probably one of the greatest sins of companies. They do all the beautiful things, right, to the CSR projects, right? But their products kill people. You know, companies that have the best CSR reports is the companies who have the greatest sins. What companies? The tobacco companies. Their CSR report is superb, right? In Malaysia, the one that wins the best CSR award is British American Tobacco. BAT, right? That's sad, man. The other types organization that has good reports, right? They pamerkan bagus kan, CSR kan gitu kan. Oil companies, mining companies. In fact, in Singapore, one of the companies that win the CSR award is weapon manufacturing company, right? So how can these companies, right, that is selling these poisons and exploiting the world, exploiting our young, our youth, our people, having good CSR? That is contradiction in terms. Inilah salahnya. Itu not being a good khalifah, right? Dan kita janganlah terbohong dengan beasiswa yang di-offer oleh Sempurna. Nah, Sempurna is number one company that gives beasiswa di Indonesia. Tetapi mereka itu yang menjual racun kepada kita. Janganlah kita berbangga dengan Sempurna lagi. karena sudah dibeli oleh Philip Morris. Kan? Cintailah produk-produk Indonesia. Ya, janganlah kita jadi apa tuh? Mas pion gitu kan. Bukan lagi sempurna itu. Cintailah bangsa Indonesia. Cintailah anak-anak Indonesia. Jadi janganlah biar racun masuk ke dalam badan kita. Right? Now this is being Khalifah. This is the true CSR. Right? Now I give you an example. The next one, the next slide. Right. Saya susunnya mengikut prioritas. Kalau saya berhenti sudah cukup ya. Now this is a weird thing. This is the best employer of the year company. This is in Vietnam. His name is Dr. Tri. He's a friend of mine who has a PhD as well, right? Dan dalam perusahaannya ini saya sempat ada research dan sedikit seperti discussion konsultasi di sana itu kan. Menarik itu karena saya ngomongnya satu kalimat terjemahannya satu perenggan itu. Tri, what do you say? I just read you one sentence. Well, what you say is what we expound in our company, so he elaborate even more. Now his company, he has a happiness manager, somebody who's in charge of happiness in his company. Right? Ini perusahaan ini ada yang menjaga kebahagiaan itu. And he write kebetulan suatu coincidentally when I'm in his company at that time, it was the Lantern Festival, Jadi and I participated in the event. I said, what is going to happen in this event? I don't know. He said, I don't know. He showed me the check. I wrote this check to the happiness manager. This kenduri ya, syukuran yang bawa keliling perusahaannya, panggil komunitasnya bersama-sama perusahaannya. Jadi there's a shared prosperity with the community. In fact, in this company that he has, you can take bath, you can shower in his company, right? Bisa mandi dalam perusahaannya itu. Mandinya bukan untuk karyawan saja, tetapi untuk anak-anak karyawan, untuk bayi-bayi karyawan. I went to this bathing place. I said, why do we have this thing? Well, that's for the babies to be bathed, right? Jadi sangat family friendly. Perusahaannya sangat family friendly. Dan malahan satpamnya aja dikasih beasiswa untuk sambung study. Satpam itu. Jadi saya kan luar biasa kayak ini organisasi ini. Dan when I go to the company, I see all these smiley faces. Kenapa banyak smiley faces? Bukan di tempatnya aja, di tempat karyawan-karyawan. Oh, every time somebody were to do something good to another person, right? You get a smiley face. Jadi mula-mulanya happiness manager yang buat, you do something good, I give you a smiley face. Akhirnya happiness manager kadang nggak capek lah gitu. Everyone can give happiness smiley face. Jadi one of the ways of evaluating the goodness of the person is how many smiley face he gets, right? Jadi semakin hari semakin bahagia gitu kan. Semakin sedekah, senyum itu sedekah, betul. Thank you very much, senyum itu sedekah. Jadi dia kan mempraktikkan Islam itu kan. Jadi orang non-Muslim pun kalau mempraktikkan prinsip-prinsip Islam itu sukses. And this is what we want to do with CSR Islam. And that's to bring the rahmat of Islam inside, not just Islam, but inside the companies of non-Muslim. That is the power of CSR Islam, right? By the way, the last time I was communicating with him, I said, I look at his Facebook. Why did you shave your hair? Tri, his name is Tri. Why did you shave your hair, Tri? I have become a monk. Sudah jadi monk apa bahasanya? Mitsu. Sudah jadi Mitsu. He's a Buddhist, right? Should I become monk? So what happened? I've sold my company. Okay. All right. Yes, sold the company. So I was surprised. This is a man who is, I mean, yeah, this is how, and then he find more peace becoming a monk, you know. Right. So, anyways, this is a story of the employer the employer of the year company lah, and this is luar biasa. And ini sederhana, bukan perusahaan yang besar-besar itu ya. That is kalau lihat itu fotonya, and that is basically seperti top managementnya itulah. Jangan kumpulnya itu agak angkat mepet ya, apa ya, sempit ya. Kan itu kegiatannya lah, ini luar biasa itu kan. So this is workplace responsibility yang saya ingat perusahaan-perusahaan bisa diangkat ya. The next one please. Prinsip yang ketiga ialah prinsip kejujuran dan amanah, right? Principle of truthfulness and trustworthiness. In fact, if you look at the beauty, that keindahan Islam itu, why Prophet Muhammad SAW, mengapa Muhammad dianggap sebagai Al-Amin? Kerana kejujurannya, kerana tidak pernah berbohong. Right? Why did Khadijah marry Prophet Muhammad? Kerana kejujurannya, kerana sifatnya, dan juga Prophet Muhammad SAW telah mengangkat bisnesnya menjadi luar biasa sukses. Jadi Islamnya tu bisa membawa sukses kepada agamanya. And you know that, we go to the next one. I'm going to move more quickly now. The strength of Prophet Muhammad in selling, dia bilang, he will tell you the cost price, right? Jadi kalau orang bilang, I want to buy this pair of glasses, dia bilang, okay, I bought this one at the price of 30,000. Silakanlah kalau mau bayar apa gitu kan. So the total truth paradigm in communication that is being practiced by Prophet Muhammad SAW is a very powerful concept. Jadi orang percaya kepadanya. Apabila orang percaya, maka orang akan datang dan datang lagi. When people trust you, when you are known to be truthful, orang akan datang. Dia tidak akan bohong kita itu. Dia tidak akan ada penipuan apa itu. I trust. Kalau ada repair motor atau sepeda ataupun mobil itu, enggak ada yang akan bohong-bohong yang ambil, yang enggak rosak dibilang rosak, yang spare part yang tidak perlu ditukar itu enggak ada gitu kan. Jadi lama-lama orang percaya gitu. So if you can establish the truthfulness, the trustworthiness, your business will become not just ethical, it will become very successful. This is the total truth paradigm of the third pillar. And by the way, are there companies practicing this? People say, well, kalau gitu nggak boleh lah kita ni. Kok kita bilangnya 30,000, 10,000 kos saja tu, nanti rugi terus itu. Nah, it's not true. You do not trust the principle of Islam. Now there's a setup, an organization in Utah. Utah is a state in United States where most of the people are Mormons. Mormons is a sect of Christianity yang percaya bahawa reincarnation of prophet itu sudah ada ya kan. Dia bilang Jesus Christ selepas dia descended, dia pergi ke United States gitu. Jadi bunyi kita ketawa, tetapi mereka percaya dan mereka mempunyai 12 disciples in United States and all that. But in Mormon, Utah, harga kos kan. Jadi terserah kita kalau mau kasih lebih gitu. Dan supermarket ini pula untuk orang-orang miskin bisa ambil produk-produknya kan, grosirnya secara gratis. Jadi kita tahu kita pergi ini kita bersedekah. Kan kita ini membantu orang-orang yang miskin gitu. Malahan untungnya lebih. Karena orang tahu, oh biasanya 10% kan untungnya kan kalau grosir-grosirnya. Ini barang orang kasih 20%, 30%, 2 kali lipat bisa jadi itu. Jadi ini prinsipal yang melawan logika kita, tetapi hikmah rahmat dalam Islam itu luar biasa. I'm telling you that if you trust Islam, if you trust Islamic principles, you become much more successful. Right? Now, in Malaysia, the Syariah compliant financial products, produk-produk financial Islam Muslim ya di Malaysia ini perbanknya ya majoritasnya yang membelinya bukan Muslim, non-Muslim. Padahal majoritas di Malaysia ni warganya Muslim, tetapi non-Muslim ya terutamanya Chinese ya menginvestasi dalam produk-produk financial Muslim. Maksudnya mereka percaya dalam integritas prinsip Islam yang ada dalam produk-produk financial Islam. Jadi apakah kita sendiri khawatir, curiga? We ourselves are not certain about Islamic power in Islamic principles, Islamic goodness, right? Sometimes we ourselves doubt our own principles. Now what I'm saying is that the third principle of trustworthiness, of truthfulness, if you apply it, it becomes so powerful. If people say, kalau kamu mau tahu perusahaan yang tidak membohong orang, pergilah perusahaan itu. Itu perusahaan yang paling jujur. Oh, itu luar biasa ininya. Kan, produk-produknya enggak ada yang bohong-bohong itu. Ya, itulah biasa. Ya. Tapi belum saya ketemu lagi lah produk-produk perusahaan Islam kayak gitu itu belum ada lagi gitu. Ya sedihnya gitu. Ini prinsip yang ketiga. Now we move on to the fourth principle, right? The fourth principle is the principle halalan thayyiban, right? Ada halalan thayyiban kebetulan ini Mbak Iko dosen Peruntirta kan bisa kita putar sikit. Salah seorang lagi mahasiswa saya di sini bimbingan saya ini Mbak Iko namanya tesis PhD-nya ialah tentang halalan thayyiban, halalan thayyiban. Dan ini sudah draft yang akhir sudah siap itu, jadi menunggu diberi input dari saya jadi. Nah, halalan thayyiban, we know as a concept is a unified concept. Jadi dalam Quran tidak pernah disebut halal saja, tetap halal thayyiban, right? So in Islam, in the teachings of Quran, halal is never separated from thayyib, right? I will move you to talk about the next slide. So go deeper. So the principle of halalan thayyiban has to do with do no harm, do no haram. We know the Hippocratic rule in medical sciences. Says do no harm. First, do no harm. But in halalan thayyiban, we do no haram, we do no harm. It's halal plus good. Right? I will illustrate with one example. Right? The next one. The story illustration. The story of a halal chicken. This is a story that was presented by my brother, Muhammad Riza Bustami, who is also a lecturer in UiTM in Shah Alam. Right? He teaches business. He's actually the one who come up with the Sharia compliant listing criteria. Jadi stok bursa sama ya, istilah kita ya sama ya. Bursa di Malaysia itu yang ada Islamic stocks ya, mematuhi. Di sini bilangnya patuh syariah ya, patuh syariah ya. Itu abang saya yang membangunkan kriteria itu. Sewaktu beliau masih lagi bertugas di Bursa Malaysia kemarin itu. Sekarang sudah jadi dosen. So the story of halal chicken, right? Let's go to the illustration. Kalau lihat sekarang ini, there's a distinction between halal sahaja dan halal thayyib, ya. Halalan thayyiban. Yang bawah itu, yang merah itu halal sahaja. The one at the bottom, they are only halal, but the top is halalan thayyiban, right? If you look at the bottom, di bawahnya, if you look at the bottom, that chicken that we're eating right now, right? Most of the chickens we're eating right now, antibiotics, chemicals, fertilizer, growth hormones, pesticides, insecticides, apa saja dimasukkan ke dalam ayamnya itu kan. Kemudian ayamnya itu dikurung dalam sangkar yang kecil-kecil gitu kan. The chickens are being kept in cages, small tight cages that is very very inhumane, very not just inhumane but not very cruel, we can say cruel ya. Zalim lah sama gitu. Ayam kita dikurung kayak gitu terus sempit gitu kan. Kemudian kita sembelih ayam itu kan, sembelih. Baca bismillah Allahu akbar, sembelih lah. Halal, ayam itu halal, tetapi tidak thayyib. Halal tapi thayyib. kita ni mementingkan halal saja kan. Tapi kalau saya ambil kertas keping ini, right? Koyak kertas ini, saya bisa makan halal kertas itu kan. Kerana kertas itu halal, right? Tapi tidak toyib, right? It's halal but not toyib. Dia permissible, you can eat it, but it is not good. And that's what happened with our concept of halal certification. Most of our halal certification, right, looks mostly at halal.
Suaranya berhenti ya.
Bukan disuntik ya. Okay, sorry. Ada internet connection internet ya. Okay, sambung dari tadi ni. Jadi if you look at the chicken that's halal and toiban chicken, the chicken is fed with well balanced diet, accessible to outdoors. Jadi ayamnya bisa bebas gitu, atau tidak dikurung di tempat yang terlalu sempit. Yeah, it's not too the place is too small for it, cannot move. Now we have ayam kampung kan, bisa lari-lari, free range chickens, right? Free range chicken, right? And then disembelih. And that is halal and toiban, right? In fact, you know, one of the best sticks yang kita makan yang enak itu kan, sticks ya. The best sticks can be found in New Zealand. New Zealand, the cows or the lambs are not just fed with the best food, but they also play Beethoven music. Jadi tenang. Kambing-kambingnya, lomba-lombanya itu tenang kan. Pernah teman saya di sana tuh, kalau kita ke New Zealand, di mana ada tempat mereka, if you go to New Zealand where you can find the sheep or lambs and being bred with free range, if you open the door, the lambs will suddenly run away, right? Because it's so peaceful there, right? Any sound of machine apa itu sudah mengganggu mereka gitu. Jadi kambing-kambingnya itu, lomba-lombanya sangat tenang. Domba itu dolphin ya, sorry ya. Domba itu, the sheep are very at peace, very tranquil. The place is very peaceful. Ya. Tapi kita itu ayam kita, oh ya Allah, kan? Jadi kasihan ayam kita itu, kasihan ternakan kita itu. So this is the concept of halal and toiban. I'm talking maybe sound a bit extreme, tetapi tidak lari pada prinsip Islam. So halal and toiban itu not just about halal, also about toib, right? So if you look at the next slide, right? Kita bilang, why should we worry about this part about toib part? Well, in China, right, there's a big issue where people want to mungkin ada yang there are people who try to increase the level of protein inside the formula milk for children, right? The formula milk for children dimasukkan melamine. Melamine is a type of like plastic that you put into powder melamine, put into the milk, and it thickens the milk and makes the milk the content of the milk, the protein content of the milk increase. What happens is people die, children die, babies die, because they want to cheat, right? So what happens is consumers become wary. They do not trust the milk that is being produced in China. And this is Chinese people not trusting Chinese products, right? And this is a while ago. There was a big incident. And so much so that the Chinese government caught the people and executed them. Bunuh mereka, executed them, right? So this is the part that we look from the outside, but we do not look at the inside, the goodness of inside. Right? So this is the fourth principle. The next principle, the fifth principle is principle of keadilan, principle of fairness. Sesungguhnya Allah menyuruh menyampaikan amanah kepada yang berhak menerimanya, dan apabila kamu menetapkan hukum kebijakan di antara manusia, hendaklah kamu menetapkannya dengan adil. Sesungguhnya Allah sebaik-baik yang menerima pengajaran kepadamu. Sesungguhnya Allah Maha mendengar lagi Maha melihat. This principle of fairness is one of the toughest, most challenging principles to be incorporated. If you go look at the next slide, I'll go quickly now. Is there fairness in distribution of health? Cara kita membagi-bagikan kekayaan, membagi keuntungan itu adakah adil? If you look at the whole supply chain, right, are we being fair to the farmers, to the producers? Are we giving so much wealth, profit to those of the capitalist class that we exploit those of those who are at the beginning of the supply chain, the producers, and we're exploiting the consumers. Consumernya dapat harga yang luar biasa mahal, petaninya, pelombongnya, nelayannya tidak dapat yang harga yang berpatutan, ya, harga yang untungnya golongan kapitalis. That is not fair. So we must talk about fairness in the distribution chain. We must talk about fairness, gender equality. Are we giving the same salary, the same wages, upah yang sama kepada lelaki dan perempuan? Are we giving the same for women and men? In fact, even advanced countries are not doing it in a fair way. In the United States, women are getting 70%, 70 cents out of every $1 that men are getting, right? So are we having fair distribution between management and workers, between consumers, right? Indigenous rights position, are we occupying a land, a piece, a place in a community, and we marginalize the indigenous communities? Jadi kalaulah perusahaan-perusahaan masuk itu, orang-orang masuk ke satu tempat, putra daerahnya akhirnya terpinggir, termarginalisasi, itu tidak adil. That is not fair. So fairness is a hard thing to do. Fairness is a must thing to do. Right? Kalau kita tidak adil itu, maka tidaklah ada berkat. So this is one of the biggest challenges of CSR Islam. Right? Now I want to share with you one of the experiences, one of the research I've conducted in Indonesia is in Surabaya. If you recognize this is that is the young man that I interviewed. His name is Ananda, Azrul Ananda, son of the former minister Dahlan Iskan, right? The minister of BUMN. Is the Jawa Post, right? The one who runs Jawa Post. Now, Azrul Ananda, so I interviewed him. Now, I went to JTV. JTV is the first Indonesian local TV studio, TV channel in Indonesia. JTV, Jawa TV lah, JTV itu. JTV, ya. Kemudian baru ada JAK TV, and then expanded throughout Indonesia. Now JTV, when I conducted research on CSR, they were telling me about the CSR in JTV. They were talking at that time was Jogja, Gunung Merapi, and mereka kirim bantuan dan sebagainya. But then they brought me to the JTV studio. And ini yang menariknya. In JTV studio, they have this programming that is focused on Jawa Timur, ya. Ada pojok Pitu, pojok Pengempungnya kan. Jadi Pojok Pitu itu the news that is being read in Eastern Javanese. Eastern Javanese, right? Dalam bahasa Jawa Timur ya. Dan apabila dipakai, karena bahasa Jawa Timur tuh kalau ikut menurut bagian masyarakat di Jawa Timur tuh kalau dilihat sebagai bahasa kasar, bahasa secondary ya, bahasa yang kurang elegan, bagus dari bahasa Jawa Tengah kan, bahasa orang Karaton gitu kan. Jadi orang Jawa Timur tuh jalan lihat beberapa kasar itu. Tetapi apabila dipakainya bahasa Jawa Timur dalam pembacaan berita, dalam programming itu, maka PD-nya semakin kan rasa percaya diri itu naik kan. So they feel empowered by using their own local language, introducing this local vocabularies. Jadi banyak istilah-istilah, resepi-resepi masakan yang dahulunya sudah lupa ataupun terpinggir di mainstreamkan kembali ya kan. Jadi saya sering bertanya mahasiswa itu montor muluk ya, montor muluk itu apa ya? Montor muluk is I've asked this question before. Montor muluk is actually pesawat. Itu bahasa Jawa yang Jawa Timur yang lama gitu ya. Betul nggak? Bukan yang gitu ya. So there's this vocabularies. Yeah. So what happens is in JTV when they use the Islamic principle of fairness in their product, right? And it's to be fair to the putra daerah of Jawa Timur. Jawa Timur ada bahasanya. Kenapa tidak diangkat bahasa Jawa Timur? Kan? Why are we marginalizing bahasa Jawa Timur? Karena tidak dilihat sebagai bahasa yang keren, bahasa yang apa halus. Tetapi when you bring up, you empower, you enrich the bahasa Jawa Timur, that is being fair. Malahan kerana itu a lot of Jawa Timur people follow this Pojok Pitu kerana ada menarik bahasa kita sendiri gitu kan. Jadi that is the strength of being fair. That is the strength of Islam, Islamic teachings, right? Of fairness. Jadi orang yang terpinggir itu tidak rasa terpinggir lagi. Terasa this is part of me, this is me, there's a sense of belonging. Yeah. So this is also social responsibility, right? Okay. I will skip a couple of slides here. The next slide, skip this one. I go to the sixth before I go to the seventh one. The sixth one is actually has to do with the principle of authenticity and credibility. Authenticity and credibility. Hai orang-orang beriman, this is Al-Baqarah. Hai orang beriman, apabila kamu bermuamalah tidak secara tunai untuk waktu yang tertentu, ditentukan hendaklah kamu menulisnya dan hendaklah seorang penulis di antara kamu menulisnya dengan benar. Kita sering dengar dalam Islam itu iqra, kan, bacalah as being the first ayat, the first command, first directive from God. But in Islam there is another heritage, there is a written heritage. One of the reasons Islam becomes such a credible religion, such a strong religion, such a powerful religion, is the tradition of writing, is a tradition of documenting. Jadi otentisitasnya itu, kalau lihat silsilah cara kita menarasi Quran, itu ada because of documentation, because of the credibility, authentication of the narration, right? Maka if you look at CSR, applying to the CSR, right? Next CSR, right? How do we verify something has been good? How do you certify something has been good? How do you make sure that things are documented well, right? So example, in Islam just now was talking about when you borrow money, you must write. You must write, right? Even though it's between saudara, right? We know that apabila kita menagih hutang itu seperti meminta bulan turun ke bumi itu, orangnya kabur kemana perginya nggak tahu lah kan. Tetapi if we have a system that establish authentic documentation, a system that establish certification of what is good, what is real, what can be believed, that can be a strong business, right? So business of certification, the whole practice of certification is actually a practice in Islam. Now, this is where reporting becomes important. This is where communication becomes important. How do we know that when a company says it takes care of its employees, it's telling the truth? How do we create authentic corporate communication? How do we create believable, trustworthy corporate communication? Now, this is Islamic communication. This is Fakultas Komunikasi perlu memikirkan bagaimana ini. Bisakah kita bangunkan satu sertifikasi untuk mensertifikasikan komunikasi yang boleh dipercayai, bisa dipercayai? How do we come up with that? Mungkinkah kita ada third party verification? Maybe we can create a third party verification coming from lecturers, coming from professors, coming from the university to certify that the report, right? Supposedly we have this report, CSR report, which is a standard in today's businesses, right? Can we trust this report, right? Can we trust that so like halalan toiban? Can we trust the cert? That is part of Islamic CSR. Yeah. So I'll go to the next one, the final one, which is CSR principle number 7, the principle of giving a reciprocity. Giving a reciprocity, kamu sekali-kali tidak sampai kepada kebajikan sebelum kamu menafkahkan sebahagian harta yang kamu cintai. Dan apa saja yang kamu nafkahkan, maka sesungguhnya Allah mengetahui. Right? So the point here is this, that in Islam, giving is actually part of the institutional practices, right? So we have zakat as part of the giving, we have fitrah as part of the giving, we have infaq as part of the giving. So, but I want to talk about giving in a different context as well, right? Those ritualistic, the wajib kind of giving already you can find from the Islamic studies. But I want to talk about different kind of giving as well, and that is reciprocal giving. In Islam, whenever somebody gives you something, right, you are to say, you must balas, you must reciprocate. You should reciprocate in kind, maksudnya bisa dikasih barang, berterima kasih kembali, right? Atau mengucapkan terima kasih sekurang-kurangnya. Dan ini ada hadis sahih, by the way. You must do that, right? At the very least, say thank you. Maka we must ask ourselves this: is the company reciprocating sufficiently to whom it should reciprocate? Kepada mereka yang sudah memberi baik kepada kita, memberi manfaat kepada kita, sudahkah kita berterima kasih? Sekurang-kurangnya dalam ucapan, right? Sebaik-baiknya dalam perbuatan, right? Apa saja. Kalau sudah datang musim musim puasa ini, kalau setidak-tidaknya buah tamar, buah kurma 1 biji, 2 biji, 3 biji bisa gitu kan, kita kumpulkan setahun uang untuk kita kasih kepada mereka yang sudah membuat baik kepada kita kan. Kalau tidak bisa itu kita kasih uang, kalau kita boleh kasih uang lah, kasihlah waktu kita. Or at the very least, write a thank you note, right? Write a thank you note, say thank you for helping me, thank you for being a good customer to me, right? Jangan just sekarang ini dalam dunia WhatsApp itu sangat gampang mau terima kasih hingga orang main delete aja. You receive is delete. But when you write something, it gives a different meaning. So the idea of being sincerely thankful to other people who give you is actually a very big part of Islam. Right? So you got to reciprocate. You must reciprocate. Kalau belum lagi kita membalas jasa, belum lagi membalas budi, orang yang telah memberi kepada kita, lakukanlah. Kan itu adalah hak mereka untuk menerima pemberian, ucapan sekurang-kurangnya terima kasih kepada kita itu. Dan you know what? There's research being done whenever customers, right, being sent thank you note from the owners, the satisfaction increases. Kepuasan itu menaik compared to those customers who have not been written thank you note to. Padahal pengalamannya sama itu kan. So people who come up as patients from hospitals contohnya, right? Two groups. One you say thank you, write a thank you note, nurses, doctors write a thank you note. Satu lagi tidak. Now those who have written, receive thank you note from the nurses, doctors feel much more satisfied being there because they give positive meaning, even higher positive meaning to the experience. So think about saying thank you in many different ways. Satu korma kah, dua korma kah, apakah wangi-wangian kah, ayat Quran kah ditulis kita sendiri kah, apa ni bookmark kah, apa saja. Right. Small little things makes a lot of difference. Kerana itu ucapan ikhlas terima kasih daripada kita itu. Karena ini kepada doa anak ini apa ni mahasiswa mesti mendengar ini. Ucaplah terima kasih kepada dosen-dosen ini kan. Think of honest ways, honest special ways. Kerana thank you itu harus special juga kan. Kalau tidak ada artinya gitu kan. Jadi you want to say at the very least jujurlah dalam berterima kasih itu. Dan ucapan kejujuran itu kalau kita terima kasih lihat dari mata kita dengan salaman kita itu sangat menyentuh hati gitu, sangat menyentuh hati. And that makes a whole world of difference. So I'm talking about that aspect of giving, right? There's the other aspect yang tidak perlu saya bicara lagi, but that aspect of giving. So perusahaan kalaulah pembisnes memikirkan this part of CSR, responsibility of giving thank you. And saya tahu ini juga dipraktikkan di Jogja ya, di Jogja itu ada makanan apa yang Jogja itu bukan pempek Palembang. Gudeg. Bukan gudeg yang kue apem. Bakpia. Bakpia ya. Ada bakpia di Jogja itu. Ownernya Chinese, ownernya non-Muslim. Tetapi bulan Ramadan ada Lebaran itu silakan datang, dia kasih bakpia secara gratis itu kan. Itu yang beca-beca itu sangat menghargai sangat itu. Saya pernah wawancara beca itu, itu sangat bagus itu. Jadi kami akan bawa turis-turis ke tempat itu kan. Jadi kerana bagi bakpia gratis itu ya. Saya nggak tahu lah, saya nggak pernah wawancara owner pemiliknya itu bakpia. Jadi and that is something companies can do, right? So this is the power of it, right? The last one. Last aspect sebelum saya mengakhiri ini menangguh kuliah saya ini, zakat, sedekah, hadiah, wakaf. The last part is wakaf. Ini ada satu buku, ini Khalifah ganti Superman bukunya. Ini adalah pemilik KFC di Malaysia ya, KFC di Malaysia. Kan KFC ada banyak branch. Di Malaysia ni orang namanya Tan Sri Dr. Datuk Muhammad ini. Jadi pemilik KFC. Jadi dia bilang gini, kalau membangunkan ekonomi ummah itu wakaflah. Ini kalau kita lihat kekuatan Muhammadiyah itu, kekuatan ekonomi Muhammadiyah itu, salah satu faktor yang besar itu adalah faktor wakaf ya. Tapi bila kita wakaf itu bukan lagi milik swasta, bukan milik individu, tetapi jadi dimiliki bersama. We are creating public good for public to use, right? And this is a form of giving that is so powerful, so meaningful, and a form of giving that cannot be taken back, right? A form of giving seperti kita wakafkan sebuah apa namanya universitas, sebuah universitas Pulau Rumah, apa saja itu kan. So the wang itu berterusan kebaikannya berlaku itu dan memberi manfaat kepada orang-orang yang mendapat manfaat dari itu secara berterusannya kan. And this is a form of dia bilang ini ialah strategi senjata ya. Dia bilang ini jihad dalam bisnes itu dulu, pakailah wakaf sebagai jihad bisnes ya. Jadi contohnya kita mewakafkan bahagian tertentu kepada publik melalui wakaf kita, itu kuasa membangunkan kuasa ekonomi ummah yang bersama itu. Sekian saja. So I'll adjourn there. Talking about wakaf is a form of endowment in Islam, which means you actually give a portion of your wealth, be it in terms of properties or money, right? So that the endowment will continue to benefit the public, right? It's no longer public ownership. It is no longer private ownership. It becomes a public ownership for the public good. And this is one form of giving, one form of philanthropy, one kind of reciprocity that will continually giving gifts, benefits until the end of time, as long as the wakaf continue to exist. And this is a way where we build the ummah. This is where we spread the rahmatan lil alamin to the world, right? And this is the way I quote this an example as well of the strength of Muhammadiyah, how it do institutional replication, right? Replicates itself, new hospitals, new universities, new schools, right? By creating and finding and making more wakaf institutions, wakaf lands. Yeah. So thank you very much. I'll adjourn now. Maybe we can open for questions later. Thank you. Back to Dr. Yeni. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you very much, Dr. Rifani Bustami, for addressing these interesting topics. Okay, please give applause to Dr. Rifani. Yeah, and Alhamdulillah, we have some special guests today, Doctor. We have Dr. Trihastuti Nurrohimah, Mbak Nur.
Ya, assalamualaikum, Dr. Rifani. Very interesting presentation.
Ya, Mbak Nur.
More of Indonesia and many cases.
I find Malaysia is part of me too. Indonesia is part of me too. The whole of Nusantara. Kita dulu satu dulu.
Yeah, you mentioned about Nusantara too.
Yes.
Yeah. Dr. Rifani, Bu Trihastuti actually is the General Secretary of ISIA. ISIA,
ISIA, yes. Universitas Asia.
Yeah, Muslim Women Organization.
Organisasi
ISIA. Yeah.
Muhammadiyah.
Yeah, Muhammadiyah. Yeah. And we have also Dr. Surwandono from International Relations Department.
Yes, Pak Sur,
yeah, postgraduate.
Yeah.
School of Universitas Muhammadiyah Yogyakarta. And also we also have guests also from Universitas Indonesia, Pak Bambang. Ya, terima kasih Pak Bambang.
Mantan dekannya. Former dekan itu.
Terima kasih Pak Bambang.
Ya. Morning Pak Bambang.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe we move along to next session. This is a question and answer session. So I would invite the participant, those who would like to giving the questions, or maybe will respond to Dr. Rifani explanations. Okay, maybe you can drop your chat in chat box, or you can directly speak to your microphone. Okay, the first questions come from Dede Muniro, Dr. Ifani. She talked about, as far as I know, in Indonesia, there are very few companies that apply CSR or Islamic CSR actually, and probably not many knows, because we only know CSR in general. As we know, the CSR is mandatory to all companies and a part of the comply the rule of the law. Now, for the predominantly Muslim countries like Indonesia and Malaysia, is it possible that Islamic CSR also applied to the law of CSR, so that many companies will try to implement it? Okay, that is the questions from Dede Muniro. Or maybe Dede also would like to add your questions to Dr. Ifani directly.
No, Mom.
Okay.
Deg-degan.
Yeah, that is the questions from Dede, Dr. Ifani. As Muslim countries, but we are not apply. We do not apply ICSR. So why is that, and how to implement it?
Yeah. Oh, thank you. That's a very important question, very crucial question to ask.
Yeah.
Mbak Dede ya. Ya kan, Mbak Dede.
Mbak Dede dari Jawa
Mbak
Barat,
Dede.
Prof.
Oh, teh.
Ya.
Neng Dede.
Neng Dede.
Neng Dede. Oh,
Neng Dede.
Oh, okay. Tapi nggak kelihatan dari namanya tuh, nggak kelihatan orang Jawa Barat dan orang Sunda gitu.
Oh, Dede itu.
Huh? Oh, Dede itu Sunda ya. Oh, okay. I must learn more. Go more to the Jawa Barat part of the Indonesia. Now, I want to note that Indonesia, in many ways, are ahead in terms of CSR in Southeast Asia. Indonesia is the first country to make it compulsory for the banking sector to have a CSR allocation in the budget, right? Jadi anggaran tu wajib ada itu, apalagi kalau BUMN semua tu. Malaysia did not have that, still doesn't have that. It's not compulsory. CSR is not compulsory. So Indonesia is ahead in many different ways compared to many countries in Southeast Asia. Now, my thought is this: Islamic CSR as a total concept will be very challenging for a lot of companies to execute, right? Mungkin orang berfikir bahawa Islamic CSR itu agak berat, sulit itu kan. But we ask some simple questions. CSR is not just about reaching out. CSR is more about reaching in. Ya, CSR itu lebih banyak tentang praktik operasi kita sendiri, daripada kita keluar membantu sana membantu sini. Itu memang tanggung jawab, tetapi mungkin sunatnya sunat muakkad lah kan. Sunat yang dituntut kan. So the challenge of our countries, right? You ask the question, is it possible for ICSR principle applied to the law to apply to our companies? The answer is yes. The challenge for our companies, our countries, is that sometimes we are afraid to use Islam as a way to transform our business practices. Yeah. But when you use Islam as a way to transform, I'm not talking about Islamic State, apa khilafah, bukan ya. Saya bilangnya cuma specific areas ya. Contohnya, example I quote just now was Islamic finance. When we introduce Islamic finance, we become the model to the world. Right now, London, yeah, where the center of Islamic finance, center of world finances, they come and consult with Bank Islam di Malaysia sebagai consultant bagaimana membuat Islamic finance itu. China come and consult with us. Bagaimana mau ada halal certificate, halal logo itu. Because people don't trust the halal logo in China, they trust halal logo over here. So now I give you one example where when it comes to industry, we are number one. Now besides Islamic finance, we are number one. Another industry where we know Indonesia is number one. Muslim tourism. Muslim tourism, Indonesia, Malaysia rank number one in the world. Now, because we have created, this is part of us, right? And because we make tourism, that is already part of us. So kita tidak perlu bersaing dalam arena yang orang lain. Kita bersaing dalam arena kita sendiri. Dan tourism saya tahu kalau di Jawa Barat ya, di Cicalengka itu baru wafatnya Kiai Haji Ali Jaber Syekh Ali Jaber itu. Tetapi pesantrennya sudah ada wisata Quran. Kita bisa naik Firefox lah, naik menunggang kuda lah, apa semua segitu. So if you look at the concept of wisata Muslim, we become number one, right? Jadi orang lain, we talk about orang kenapa mau ada wisata Muslim? Now, America, Europe want to have Muslim Islamic tourism kerana mereka mau menarik itu ibu-ibu Arab itu datang ke hotel-hotel mereka, bisa renang dalam kolam renangnya yang Muslim. Jadi dipisahkan yang laki-laki kerana yang cewek-cewek Muslimnya itu malu, segan atau apa gitulah kan. Dan ternyata yang non Muslim juga ke sana juga. Ternyata banyak yang cewek-cewek non Muslim rasa juga malu, segan apa gitu kan, pede apa gitu. Yes, we have always wanted our own swimming pool yang tidak campur sama cowok gitu. Nah, wisata, expect wisata Islam itu muncul. And that is, I'm not saying that the mall harus ada jalur cewek dan cowok. Bukan saya bilang gitu. Tetapi saya bilang bagaimanakah kita memperkenalkan Islam, rahmat Allah itu kepada yang lain-lain. And that's what happening, right? Now, Islamic tourism has gone into Taiwan. Has gone into the halal, ada halal expat. You know, in Taiwan ya, ada piring-piring logo, ada logo halalnya itu. Kita juga nggak ada itu. Halalnya, kenapa ada orang khawatir, curiga karena piring-piring itu ada dibuat daripada tulang-tulang babi katanya gitu kan. Makanya Taiwan, they are very advanced. They want to attract Muslims to their country, to their tourist spots, right? By having not just halal food, but halal piring. And sejadah disediakan di dalam hotel itu. Nah, sejadah belum pasti disiapkan di hotel-hotel di Malaysia ke Indonesia, belum pasti kan. Tetapi di Thailand sudah ada gitu. Now, people are thinking about Islam as a power, as an advantage, as a way to attract. Tetapi kita tidak. Nah, itu kadang-kadang pemerintah kita ni takut kan. Padahal kita ni mayoritas Islam. Kita lakukan bukan kerana kita mau mendominasi, tetapi membawa rahmat Islam kepada orang lain. Itulah maksudnya rahmatan lil alamin. Itulah Islam yang berkemajuan itu. Itulah konsep Islam yang dipraktikkan di Nusantara itu. So that kita perlulah membantu pemerintah kita itu, dengarlah kekuatan Islam ini kan. I'll stop there. Itulah. Silakan. Kena dengar itu.
Dede.
Oke.
Halo Dede.
Halo Bu, halo iya.
Ya.
Ya,
Bagaimana?
thank you Prof. Ya, jelas Bu. Ya, thank you Prof. Maaf
Okay.
Ibu, jaringan saya sedikit buruk.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, thank you. Okay, any other questions? Maybe from Mbak Nur? Dr. Trihastuti?
Oke,
Ya.
Bu ya. Oke, terima kasih Bu Yeni. Sekali lagi Assalamualaikum Prof. Ya. Pertama terkait dengan wakaf. Sekarang di Indonesia, kalau dulu jadi melakukan ijtihad atas wakaf. Kalau dulu wakaf itu kan selalu bentuknya tanah, kemudian rumah, jadi selalu properti yang tidak bergerak gitu ya. Sekarang sudah mulai digalakkan wakaf uang. Iya, karena kan orang seringkali tidak bisa memberikan wakaf itu selalu tanah yang luas, rumah seperti itu. Nah, sekarang gerakan yang kita kumandangkan, yang kita selalu sampaikan itu gerakan wakaf uang. Ini saya kira juga menjadi salah satu strategi untuk mengkolek dana. Karena sesungguhnya seperti di Indonesia itu potensi zakat umat Islam di Indonesia itu 60 triliun. Besar sekali, tapi yang terkumpul baru 60 triliun itu riset yang dilakukan oleh Lazis Muhammadiyah ya, tetapi baru ya sekitar 30% atau 20% yang terkumpul.
Kaya tuh, orang Indonesia ini memang kaya, malah orang paling kaya di Asia Tenggara orang Indonesia kan?
Iya.
Ya, kan?
Sebenarnya itu yang kemudian harus dikelola dengan baik untuk kesejahteraan gitu. Nah kemudian yang kedua terkait dengan nilai tadi Prof. Saya kira ini karena banyak juga mahasiswa yang ada di sini gitu, dan nilai-nilai al-ma'un tadi saya senang sekali disebut al-ma'un tadi, wah luar biasa ya gitu. Paham betul tentang Muhammadiyah ini Profesor Rifan ini. Itu nilai dasar yang
saya ada mahasiswa saya yang sering mengajar saya tentang Muhammadiyah ini, Mas Muzakir di sini. Salah satu pimpinan di Jawa Timur ya.
Oh begitu ya. Ya.
Itu Mas Muzakir. Ya, bimbingan saya, tapi dia ngajar saya.
Profesor Rifani tadi fasih sekali, ini menjadi basic itu adalah al-ma'un. Itu saya kira juga kalau di semua warga Persyarikatan Muhammadiyah Aisyah juga nilai basisnya adalah memberi, itu adalah al-ma'un seperti itu. Nah, saya kira kemudian ini ya yang harus diyakinkan kepada mahasiswa-mahasiswa kita itu bahwa sebenarnya untuk nilai CSR ya itu nilai-nilai tadi mulai nilai al-ma'un, kemudian nilai-nilai dari Muhammad ya tadi disebut dengan amanah, tanggung jawab, itu yang kemudian mungkin bisa dieksplor lagi Prof, maksud saya dengan yang mungkin dalam pembelajaran di kelas kan seringkali mungkin nilai-nilai etik itu belum banyak yang mengeksplorasi tentang nilai-nilai Islam ini tadi. Ini saya kira poin yang sangat menarik sekali ketika dimulai dengan al-ma'un, kemudian juga karakteristik nilai-nilai yang disampaikan oleh Nabi Muhammad mulai dari amanah, fatonah, sidik, itu saya kira yang harus terus dioperasionalkan dan diimplementasikan gitu. Saya kira ini luar biasa sekali, banyak wawasan yang kita bisa belajar. Dan ternyata sangat memahami Indonesia sekali. Ini kayaknya Indonesia Indus nih, Yanis baru nih dalam bidang CSR. Congratulations, terima kasih ya. Assalamualaikum.
Ya, monggo Prof untuk ditanggapi. Ya,
dan apa namanya nih? Saya beri respon sedikit. Boleh saya beri respon sedikit?
Ya, silakan dokter.
Oke, baik. Apa namanya nih? Bagi saya kalau Nusantara, memahami Nusantara itu tidak akan dapat memahami secara mendalam dan menyeluruh kalau tidak memahami Islam. Karena Islam itu bagian besar di Nusantara. Dan kalau dalam konteks Indonesia pula, kalaulah kita tidak memahami institutional Islam, kita tidak memahami Islam di Nusantara. Dan antara organisasi yang sangat sukses dalam menginstitusikan Islam dalam konteks masyarakat selepas pasca merdeka ini adalah NU dan Muhammadiyah ya. Tapi ada yang lain-lainnya, contohnya pesantren. Jadi saya baru saja diskusi dengan mahasiswa saya tentang pesantren juga, itu bahagian daripada institutionalization of Islam itu. Dan bagi saya yang dalam gerakan Muhammadiyah itu ya, satu gerakan yang luar biasa di mana dia ini seperti garam ya, garam kalau kita buat kue itu ya kan, garamnya tidak perlu banyak kan, tepungnya, minyaknya, apa yang perlu banyak. Jadi garam itu seperti ilmu ya kan. Al-Ma'un saya sudah cukup, bisa saya bangunkan rumah sakit, apa namanya, universitas, sekolah-sekolah, perusahaan, macam-macam itu kan. Jadi apa namanya, proses menginstitusikan Islam itu tanpa memahami apa namanya, inti-inti yang ada di dalam organisasi Islam ini, itu akan lari pada pemahaman Islam dari pemahaman Nusantara sebetulnya. Yang saya sedih sedikit itu, Ibu ya, ialah sekarang ini kita terlalu fokus, terlalu terpaku, terlalu taksub dengan anti radikalisme, anti terorisme, anti separatisme, anti apa macam itu kan. Akhirnya kita lupa tentang institutional building ya. Jadi yang suksesnya Indonesia itu karena institusi-institusi seperti Muhammadiyah, NU, pesantren yang mendidik, membangunkan masyarakat ya, itu sukses Islam dalam Indonesia itu. Tapi kalaulah terlalu terpaku obsesi sangat tentang anti ini, kita lawan sama-sama kita gitu kan. Kita bukan membangun kekuatan kita membangun institusi kita sama lawan kita. Jadi nggak usahlah kita nih terlalu, bisalah kita usahakan mungkin 10%, 20% daripada usaha kita ke situ, tapi 80% lagi institutional building tuh. Kalau tidak kita jadi mendukung agenda-agenda Yahudi, agenda Barat itu. Jadi kita lawan sesama kita gitu kan. Itulah saya pikir respon saya itulah.
Ya, terima kasih Prof.
Sama-sama.
Ya, terima kasih Dr. Rifani. Okay, any other questions from participants? Mbak Firna, Rosya, Arif, Nada, Farma, Alafsya, Anggita, Jessica, you have question?
Alafsya dulu peserta sajak nih, nggak salah ya. Iya kan? Pernah buat sajak Nusantara bersama. Ada ya? Itu enggak? Kita ketawa tuh, nggak tahu. Alafsya.
Is there any questions?
Anyway.
Firna, Nada? Oke, Dokter Rifani, mungkin saya ada pertanyaan juga nih, Dokter.
Silakan.
Ya, tentang apakah prinsip-prinsip sebetulnya apakah prinsip-prinsip pembangunan berkelanjutan itu juga sebetulnya is it also taught in Islam? Even is it maybe not explicitly, but maybe it is implicitly, but it is also taught in Islam, because based on your explanation, it mostly about the rules, about the principles, but how about the principles of sustainable development itself? Is it also taught in Islam?
All right.
Or said in Islam? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
SDG, Sustainable Development Goals. Right? There are 17 of them, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, right? In many ways, it is covered in Islamic CSR, but the angle might be, there might be overlapping, but there are certain things that are directly addressed. So, example, poverty, combating poverty, kemiskinan, ya. One of the biggest causes of poverty is disproportionate distribution of wealth. Jadi pembagian kekayaan itu tidak adil kan. Jadi orang lain yang usahakan, orang lain yang dapat manfaat. Jadi kalau kita lihat, jadi Indonesia is, you have the biggest gold mine in the world, ya. Tambang emas paling besar itu di Indonesia itu kan, luar biasa itu kan. Saya di Papua itu lihat, ini luar biasa, ini 2 kilometer ke bawah itu kan, ke bawahnya 2 kilometer itu luar biasa. So dan saya pernah dengar suatu saya studi penelitian saya di Papua kemarin itu. Nah, salah satu sebab orang Papua itu, dan saya ini outsider kan, orang luar kan, saya tanya bagaimana mereka banyak, ini yang di Jayapura, bukan di luar ya, masih mau merdeka. Dan saya kenapa mau merdeka? Kenapa nggak merdeka ya, saya tanya. Mereka tunjuknya gini, TNI kan. Oh, TNI, oke. Jadi tapi kenapa mau merdeka? Mereka bilang gini, dan hujahnya adalah tentang kemiskinan ya. Hujahnya begini, kalau kami ambil keuntungan hasil dari tambang itu, bukan saja kami ini sudah tidak perlu kerja, anak cucu kami saja sudah nggak perlu kerja lagi gitu kan. Jadi ada rasa teraniaya ataupun terpinggir, ada rasa tidak adil itu kan, pembagian kekayaan yang tidak adil. Jadi kalau kita lihat dalam Sustainable Development Goals, elevation of poverty itu, one of the causes ialah cara kita pembangunan kita ya, sustainable development yang tidak sustainable, di mana kita meminggirkan putra daerah, yang mana kita tidak ada pembahagian kekayaan hasil yang adil kan. Jadi akhirnya dampaknya ke situ. Jadi Islamic social responsibility is about disciplining the organization to be fair, not just to the employees, not just to the stakeholders, but also the communities outside of it. So they must distribute and they must reciprocate, harus membalas budi, membalas jasa itu. Dan ini seringnya terlepas pandang itu oleh perusahaan-perusahaan itu. Dan saya ada juga penelitian saya di Parapat di Sumatera atas lagi Medan itu, orang Batak kuat-kuat itu, yang protes demo hingga tutupnya perusahaan. Nah, perusahaan kalau dulu siapa yang tahu lah, Indo Ryan Mbak Pupa ya kan, Indo Ryan besar kasusnya itu ditutup gara-gara CSR karena uang CSR itu katanya mau diberi kepada masyarakat komunitas, tetapi ini sebelum ada lagi, ini sebelum sudah lama lah ini penelitian saya. Jadi mereka bilang pertama mereka bawa orang-orang luar itu datang kerja di sana. Nah, orang luar ini bukan orang Indonesia, ya. Ini orang-orang dari China itu. Dulu kita dijajah oleh Belanda, sekarang dia dijajah oleh China gitu kan. Kedua mereka bilang lingkungan bau. Kalau kita di perusahaan sekarang sudah tukar jadi Lestari, saya lupa namanya ya, perusahaannya itu. Bau dari chemical nih, kimia itu. Dan yang ketiganya tidak memberi berbagi keuntungan mereka ya. Saya langsung ke kampung-kampung, ada acara membagi komputer ya. Jadi ada ketua kecamatannya ketuanya lah, ketua kecamatan bilang dulu bilangnya mau kasih 12 komputer, sekarang kasih 6 komputer ya. Kita dibodohin terus gitu. Jadi ini kan isunya tentang pembahagian kekayaan itulah. Jadi part of CSR Islam responsibility is to share the wealth. Jadi, and if we look at sustainable development, the social side of sustainable development has a lot to do with fairness of justice. And justice and fairness is one of the things that a lot of companies do not follow. More so companies that are established, big companies. Yang pabrik apa lagi kan itu sering. Okay. So yes, it is consistent with SDG lah, SDG Sustainable Development Goals ya. Istilah di Indonesia pembangunan berkelanjutan. Ya. Berkelanjutan. Kalau di sini, kalau ingat Dr. Yeni, pembangunan mapan atau lestari, ya.
Pembangunan mampan.
Mapan atau ya.
Ya, baik. Terima kasih Dr. Rifani. Jadi sebetulnya Islam sudah sangat lengkap ya dalam memberikan landasan-landasan dalam bisnis ethics gitu ya, dokter ya. Baik. Mungkin ada lagi pertanyaan? Maybe there is another questions.
Maybe I wanna ask.
Yeah, okay. Parma, please.
The question is, when we can start to implement the 7 principle of transformation for our country?
When can we start?
Yeah, okay.
I mean, we can start. Bagus, pertanyaannya simple tapi substantif tuh. Substansinya tinggi. I can answer you 2 ways. One, first, I do not know. Second, now. Why do I say I do not know? Kalau 7-7-nya mau dipraktikkan oleh pemerintah itu, saya nggak tahu kalau pemerintah kita ini udah mempunyai political will ya untuk lakukannya. Belum pasti adanya. Kapan saya belum pasti. Tetapi saya bisa jawab yes, karena perusahaan mana aja bisa lakukan ke-7-7-nya. Karena ke-7-7-nya kalau kita lihat lagi, itu sebetulnya tidak susah, niat yang beretika. Jadi kita betulkan niat kita kan. Kita jadi khalifah yang menjaga 4 sisi itu kan. Lingkungan, komunitas di luar, komunitas kita dalam sendiri, produk kita haruslah yang baik kan itu kan. Berlaku adil. Jadi kita lihat cara kita membagi kekayaan kita sendiri kan mana gitu kan. Ini semua bisa dilakukan oleh perusahaan secara sekarang ini langsung bisa gitu. From the point of view of the government, I do not know, but from the point of view of the individual companies, it can be implemented right here, right now. Right. Tetapi saya lihat pemerintah kita di Indonesia baik, di Malaysia baik, apalagi Brunei, semakin mendekati Islam lah. Jadi contohnya yang halalan Toiban itu di Banten itu ada hub halal yang terbesar di Indonesia dan mungkin juga terbesar di Asia Tenggara juga itu. Jadi itu satu pengiktirafan, satu recognition, pengakuan tentang pentingnya, signifikannya halal, produk-produk halal itu di Indonesia dan juga di Asia Tenggara. Itu jadi kita semakin menuju ke arah itulah saya lihat. Jadi sudah inilah. Tapi yang kalau Indonesia itu saya lihat kekuatan Indonesia itu is bottom up. Bottom up-nya luar biasa. Seperti Muhammadiyah itu tidak ada di Malaysia, tidak ada. There is no organization like Muhammadiyah, tidak ada organization seperti NU di Malaysia. So your civil society, your NGO, Muslim-led NGO, Muslim NGO, Islamic NGO seperti Muhammadiyah itu luar biasa suksesnya. Hingga sekarang mau dibuka cabangnya di Malaysia kan, Muhammadiyah mau buka cabang di negeri Perlis itu. Sudah didiskusi itu. Jadi itu luar biasa internationalization of Muhammadiyah itu. So saya lihat itu the promise is there. Kekuatannya akan datang dari situ, dari bottom up di Indonesia itu. Jadi kadang-kadang yang di atas nih kita nih politik saya bilang di Malaysia ini politiknya pun hebat-hebat itu kan. Jadi karena lupa tentang agenda-agenda seperti ini kan, agenda rahmatil alamin kan. Tetapi ialah saya mengkritik sambil membicarakan hal yang fakta juga. Jadi sudah ada komitmen yang besar itu sudah diberikan lahan yang besar itu ya. 500 hektar. 500 hektar luar biasa besarnya itu. 500 hektar itu satu kecamatan atau untuk kabupatennya. Nah, itu luar biasa itu kan. Nah,
Kecamatan.
Itu kecamatan besar itu 500 hektar. So there is commitment. I'm not sure total commitment, but there is partial and commitment towards that lah. Jadi saya nggak tahu saya menjawab pertanyaan Mas Farma tadi. Jawab nggak? Ya.
Okay, Farma.
Thank you very much for your answer.
Is there any questions, Farma?
Yeah, no, just Bu Yeni, just to inform to Prof. Revani. Actually, Muhammadiyah has a special branch in Malaysia too, Prof. In Kuala Lumpur.
Branch,
yeah, we already have established in Kuala Lumpur and in many countries, Yes. We already have a special branch in Malaysia and then Australia, Eropa, Amerika, Japan, Mesir.
Taiwan.
Yeah, we have many special brands. Yes.
Taiwan also.
Taiwan, Hong Kong. Yes.
Taiwan, Hong Kong.
Thank you.
Ini Universitas Muhammadiyah mau dibuka cabang satu di sini. Di Perlis. Udah mau tuh, sudah diluluskan. Sultannya sudah, rajanya sudah setuju, Sultan Perlisnya setuju. Dan Sultan Raja Perlis itu adalah Chancellor USM.
Gitu.
Yang Dr. Yeni terima ijazah scroll itu itu Sultan Perlis kan?
Sultan Perlis, ya.
Sultan Perlis. Nah, Sultan Perlis itu sudah setuju untuk Universitas Muhammadiyah untuk Raja Perlis. Nah, dia tidak pakai Sultan, dari sana Raja Perlis itu. Muhammadiyah di utara Malaysia. Itu dekat dengan Thailand itu.
Oke. Kalau di Australia, ini Prof. Di Australia untuk SD, SMP, SMA. Sedang diproses.
Sedang diproses.
Di Melbourne.
Di Melbourne. Banyak orang Asia di sana tuh.
Ya. Oke. Terima kasih.
Okay. Before we finish our session, is there any questions from participants? Because time already reached 11:26 here. Okay. If not, we have come to the end of our session. Dr. Rivani and all participants, on behalf of IPCOS, UMY, I would like to say thank you so much for your addressing this interesting topic today in our department. And also for the participants, I would like to say thank you for your coming, your active discussion, your active response, and thank you so much, again for the coming for these sessions. Oke, terima kasih semuanya, Dr. Rivani, Mbak Nur, Pak Surwandono, dan semua, Pak Bambang juga dari UI yang sudah jauh-jauh hadir dan teman-teman semua sudah hadir pada siang hari ini. Saya mengucapkan terima kasih atas partisipasinya yang sangat aktif pada hari ini, pada diskusi hari ini, dan semoga bisa menambah wawasan kita tentang CSR. Oke, akhirul kalam. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Terima kasih. Thank you so much. See you again.
Thank you, Prof.
Terima kasih, Dr. Rivani.
Terima kasih, Dr. Yeni. Prof. Bambang, terima kasih. Mau ketemu lagi nanti.
Semoga bisa bertemu lagi. Oke, bye-bye.
Oke, assalamualaikum.
Pamit ya. Pamit. Makasih Mbak Nur.